Okay, so now that we've factored and we've used the zero product property, we can talk about solving with factoring. So make sure the equation is equal to 0. Make sure you factor it all the way so that you can set each factor equal to 0 and you can solve. Whoops, I accidentally advanced the screen. All right, so factoring. Since this is only 2 terms long, we're going to look for greatest common factor. Okay, so 8 and 20 can both divide by 4. And x squared and x can both divide by x. So our greatest common factor will be 4x. Make sure we write it down, so it's going to give us an answer. If we do 8 divided by 4, we get 2. X squared divided by x, we get x. Negative 20 divided by 4 would be negative 5. X divided by x would cancel out. So we factored it. Now we can set each factor equal to 0. So this 4x equals to 0. Divide by 4 to get x alone. So x would be 0 still. And then 2x minus 5 also equals 0. Here we have to do adding of 5 as our first solving step. 0 plus 5 is still 5. And then dividing by 2. And again, the program we're using is going to want a fraction instead of a decimal, so we're just going to leave that as 5 divided by 2. Okay, let's try again. This time we have a trinomial, 3 pieces. So we're going to think about AC method, or the shortcut for AC method, since there's just a 1 for A. We can just look at negative 9 and ask ourselves what numbers multiply to negative 9 that can add up to be negative 8. So it's either a 9 with a 1 or a 3 with a 3, multiplying to make 9. Since the middle number is negative, then the big number will be negative in each pair, which means the pair that can add up to negative 8 is negative 9 and positive 1. Remember, when A equals 1, you can go straight to your factors. And so x times x makes x squared, and we can just fill in negative 9, so it'll be minus 9, and positive 1, so it'll be plus 1. Once we have it factored, we can make each factor equal to 0. X minus 9 equals to 0. Finish it up by adding 9. And then x plus 1 equals to 0. So we have x plus 1 equals to 0. So we'll subtract 1. So x equals negative 1. Okay, try one more here. We're back to only 2 terms this time, so another greatest common factor. The biggest number that 12 and 2 can divide by is 2. X and x squared can divide by x. So we have 12 divided by 2 is 6. X divided by x is no x's at all. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. X squared divided by x would be the extra x. You could write that as 2x times 6 minus x. You don't have to have the 1 equals to 0 if you wanted. Make 2x equal to 0 because it's one of the factors. Make 6 minus x equal to 0 because it's the other factor. And get your 2 answers. Divide to get the x by itself. So 0 divided by 2 is still 0. On the other one, I encourage you to think of the one-step solution here. Instead of minusing the 6, we could just add the x to make it positive. 6 equals 0 plus x would just be x, so we'd get x equals 6 that way. Okay. And one more for good measure, back to a trinomial. A equals 1, so we would know that we could factor with x times x. And we just have to explore what multiplies to negative 15. That adds up to be 3. So it's either 15 and 1 or 5 and 3. Uh-oh, this doesn't factor. Let's just imagine that this was really a 2, shall we? There we go. 5 and 3, since the middle number is positive, the big number would be positive. Big number positive, little number negative. So 5 and negative 3 can add up to be positive 2. So we would fill in plus 5 and subtract 3. And then make each factor equal to 0. So x plus 5 equals to 0, or x minus 3 equals to 0. Add 3 to finish this one up. X equals 3. Subtract 5 to finish this one up. So x equals negative 5. Okay, we've had one answer of each, or 2 answers of each type. Remember to leave your answers as whole numbers or fractions when you use the homework program. Let me know if you have questions.